Alright, and now final topic. Probably my favorite one so far to talk about. But, like I said before, about 2.5 weeks we have E3 coming up. And everyone else has been doing it, so I'm going to throw in my 2 cents too. But I'm going to be doing a segment on E3 predictions. And I will just be focusing on Nintendo 3DS and Vita. Sorry, smart devices really aren't at E3, unless Nintendo lied and actually talk about their games coming to smart devices, but I doubt they're going to do that. And like I said, I can't take all the credit for these. I've been listening to a ton of podcasts. This is just kind of a conglomeration of some of the best ideas I've heard. I've altered them a little bit, made them my own, because some of the ideas are people's like hopes and dreams, and they just really aren't things that I think Nintendo's going to do, but I've changed them to be things that possibly have a chance of coming out, and things that Nintendo could actually talk about. And if I have a crazy one, I'll let you know. So, and again, some of these are going to be things that I've already talked about in some of my other YouTube videos. If you've already been watching all my videos or listening to all my videos, some of these might be the same, but if you haven't, enjoy. Nintendo is going to talk about, and this is kind of the more boring one, but Nintendo is going to talk about the NFC reader for the old 3DS. They've said they are going to release it, and the new 3DS already has NFC support built into it, but we're going to get that reader for the old 3DS, and Nintendo's going to say, hey, it's coming, we're not lying, we did make this device, it's coming to you, here's the date, here's the cost. Yay. Be excited, because the 3DS games that have Amiibo support, and I'm sorry, there aren't many, but you can use your Amiibo now. That thing that we got you all to buy a ton of. And like I said, Amiibo will probably still only work for just a couple of few games. There just haven't been that many games released so far on 3DS that have Amiibo support. Codename Steam, the fighter game, a few others, but there isn't that much that have awesome 3DS Amiibo support. They're just not working well together. But I think at this E3, Nintendo is going to talk about a few more 3DS games that are going to have Amiibo support. 3DS games that are coming up, possibly the Animal Crossing Home Designer with the Villager Amiibo, and how that might work together well. But Nintendo understands that Amiibo are popular. They're making money off this. People want this. And a lot of it's just collectors want it, but Nintendo's making money, so they got to find more ways of putting Amiibo support into their 3DS games. They're in the Wii U games a lot, but they need to be in more 3DS games. They're not gonna look at like their older games they've already released, like Xenoblade 3D and Majora's Mask, and figure out, hey, how can we get Amiibo into this? Because those games have been out already, and I don't think you're going to have people after E3 still interested in these games. If they played it, they probably already played it and beaten the games, so there's no real point to adding Amiibo support now. But future games on, we'll probably get some cool new 3DS games, and how Amiibo is going to work with them. Again, if you've listened to my talk, I did one already on this, but Nintendo has released some good N64 games on their 3DS. You have both Zeldas and you have Star Fox. And Nintendo should be announcing another N64 game. I don't know exactly what that is, because I don't hear things from Nintendo or anyone. No one tells me things, and if they did, I wouldn't be allowed to talk to it anyway. But right now, my hope is going to be an F-Zero game. People have been clamoring for that, and yes, it's a lot of just hardcore fans. There might not be enough salability, but I think there is going to be another N64 game released on the 3DS. It might just be the new 3DS, but Nintendo's been putting these games out since the 3DS came out. They put out one every so often, and they've done pretty well, especially if you look at Majora's Mask. Selling amazing, lots of copies sold, and it's just a re-release on the 3DS. But it shows that the 3DS can support N64 games pretty well if Nintendo puts some time and effort and changes up the game, makes it a little better. But I'm kind of hoping we get an F-Zero game, just because there isn't that much for racing on the 3DS. We had Mario Kart 7, but that was a while ago. Mario Kart 8 is doing great on the Wii U. Maybe it's time that Nintendo puts another racing game on their 3DS and brings back an old game like an N64 game. On that note, talking about older games and like F-Zero, one thing that I think is going to pop up for Amiibo now is Star Fox. There's a lot of characters in that universe. We have the Star Fox game coming out for Wii U. What better way than to push the Star Fox game than to say, hey, we're bringing out a whole nother line of Star Fox Amiibo. There's plenty of characters, plenty of joy and love for that IP and those names. So I think there's going to be another line of Amiibo that Nintendo has, because they're getting closer to releasing all the Smash Brother ones. They've got the Super Mario Bros, but unless they're going to add more to that wave, then or that collection of Amiibo, they're going to have to do something, because we're running out of Amiibo left that they haven't released. So they're going to have to create some new Amiibo lines. And again, this is my hope, but it falls into more stuff on the 3DS. But this is my one kind of out there thing. But Mario Maker is getting a lot of love, a lot of hype, a lot of support. There's just a lot of things they're talking about for this. And on that note, I hope, and I want this to come true. It's not completely out of the realm of possibilities, but I think that to give more love to the new 3DS and to get more people to be interested in the new 3DS, Nintendo is going to announce Mario Maker on the 3DS. It won't be in 3D, but it runs skins of all the older Mario games that can easily be run on a 3DS, and you have the touchscreen. It's not super difficult, but I think Nintendo is going to be like, hey, you all love Mario Maker on the Wii U, here's a version on the 3DS. Go to town. And to be honest, if they did this, people are going to lose their minds. This could be that one-up, like, last thing that they throw in. But I think it might only be on the new 3DS, since the same button layout and the faster processor. But this would be a great way to get people to be like, oh, I love Mario Maker, I don't own a Wii U, and I have to own a new 3DS. So it kind of puts a deviation between people that own 3DSs and don't own new 3DSs, but at the same time you boost some new 3DS sales because people are going to want this game. On the Sony side, with how much the Vita is dying, this doesn't totally make sense, but I think the Vita is going to get a price cut. It's dying. Sony knows it. They might just consider it already dead, and so they don't care about doing a price cut at all, because what's the matter if we drop the price? What are we going to sell, an extra 25 units? Nobody cares. If they're going to buy it, they're going to buy it at full price, rather than if we discount it. But it might be just that last-ditch effort to try, and Sony knows that, hey, we're not releasing those AAA games, We're just releasing those indies, so the Vita, as powerful it is, expensive it is, we're just going to discount it to try and get some more sales out of it. And we understand it's not the best machine since we're only putting indies, but here's what we're doing to make your lives a little better. And to be honest, I wish I could say more about Sony, but they're probably not going to devote much time at E3 to talking about games coming out, and it's probably just going to be a B-roll of a bunch of indie games strung together for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just be like, here's a bunch of indie games that we're going to release. And I already read you off the list of what's coming out the rest of this year that at least is on the PlayStation website, and there's not much. So if they devote like 45 seconds each, 10-minute clip, there, E3 has been covered all the Vita games that are going to happen. Wow. Makes me super excited that I'm a portable gamer, handheld device gamer, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to put tons of hours into my portable games, but they aren't getting the love anymore, and people at these companies are just like, maybe the smart device market is the way to go, and we should get out of this. But man, I love my Vita, I love my new 3DS, and I want to put time and effort into these games. I love these companies, I want to support them, but you got to give me something. You gotta give me some sort of excitement or do something to make these things worthwhile. But I hope you enjoyed all these segments. It's a little shorter. Again, the one person that said anything about my podcast was, really? You record over an hour worth of stuff? Did anyone even listen to the whole thing? And no one did. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this shorter podcast, shorter show, and I'll split all these up into different segments, so hopefully it's a little easier for you to digest on YouTube. But I hope you enjoy them. Again, leave comments, like, dislike. Let me know what you think about what I'm doing. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, let me know. I'd be glad to talk to you about getting more people on this. There's a lot of you that have something to say about these games, these news for these systems, or even just a rant on Sony's letting the Vita die. I don't care. Let me know. I'll talk to you. Again, I'm not on iTunes. I'm looking into it. For now, I'm just going to stick to YouTube. And if I start to get some more views, some more likes, maybe I'll look at moving it over to iTunes. But until then, I'm Cowboy Gamer, and I'm keeping you off the fence, letting you know about these games. Night.